Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to our channel, and as always, I want to appreciate you for taking your time to be part of us. In the past, we have seen the President of Kenya, Uhuru Kenyatta, and his deputy coming in public to air their dirty linens. And with only a few days remaining to elections, one thing is clear, and the question in the minds of many is this: will President Uhuru Kenyatta hand over the sword to his deputy in case the deputy president wins that election? If you ask me, the president will do everything in his capacity to ensure that William Samoei Ruto does not win, to ensure that he does not hand over that sword to the deputy president. I'm saying this because there is a committee that the president unveiled 2 days ago. The transition committee that is supposed to help hand over power to the president-elect. And this committee, if you ask me, consists of enemies of the deputy president. This committee is composed of the Interior Cabinet Secretary, Fred Matiang'i, the Head of Civil Service, Joseph Kinyua, Interior PS, Karanja Kibicho, Inspector General, Hilary Mutyambai, Chief of Defense, Mr. Robert Kibochi, Head of NIS, Philip Kameru, State House Controller, Kinuthia Mbugua, PS ICT, Jerome Ochieng, among many others. And if you look at that committee, it is composed of mostly guys who are working in the military, either the NIS, the police, and all that. And most of them have come out in public to criticize William Ruto. Most of them have indicated publicly that they support Raila Odinga. The role of this committee, among other things, is to facilitate handover power to the president-elect, to ensure that everything is running smoothly from the day the president-elect has been declared. They are supposed to organize security for a president-elect. This committee is also supposed to organize the personnel, wale wafanyikazi. The moment tu mtu amechaguliwa and has been declared ya kwamba yeye ndiye akona kura nyingi, then they take over the organize for his personnel. This committee is supposed to facilitate, coordinate the activities between the incoming and the outgoing, president. And lastly, it is also supposed to organize the swearing in of the president-elect. When I looked at this committee, I picked a few people, and I want to paint a picture for you, just to show you that I believe that the president is not keen and does not want to hand over power to his deputy. Let us begin with one Mr. Fred Matiang'i, who is the Interior Cabinet Secretary. Mr. Matiang'i is one person who has been accused by the deputy president that he took over part of his roles as the deputy president. It has been said, and it is in public domain, that Mr. Matiang'i was elevated to be a chief minister, coordinating and facilitating, other ministries. And it is said that he was given the role to chair subcommittees, ministerial committees, a role that many believed was that of the deputy president. Mr. Matiang'i has come out clearly in public that he supports Raila Odinga, he supports the handshake and he supports his bid to become the president of Kenya.
Na siwezi kuona haya hata kama mimi ni mtumishi wa serikali. Niseme tu ukweli vile huko. Wakati mheshimiwa rais wetu ameungana na mheshimiwa Right Honorable Prime Minister Raila Odinga kufanya handshake na kuleta amani, tumekaa kwa amani. Lavu niambie sasa nisikuja hapa nisiseme maneno eti nione haya eti mwambie CS Matiang'i hawachane asizungumze maneno hiyo ya Raila na handshake kwendeni. Lazima tufahamu vile mambo iko. Let's be very honest. We stop this hypocrisy and pretense here. Tunajifanya hapa. There are things that we can talk about and there are things we cannot talk about. Sisi tukiwa Nyanza hapa, we are one. Na tumekuwa pamoja siku zote. We are one people. Ama namna gani? Kwetu ni hapa juu. Na ndipo tumeongea pia na tuliongea vizuri sana. Tumekubaliana sisi wote. Na mzee wetu Prime Minister Raila Odinga ndiye anatuongoza. Na tumekubaliana safari hii sisi watu wa Nyanza tutasimama pamoja kama mtu mmoja. Na tutasimama sisi wote pamoja. Sasa nikisema hivyo nimefanya makosa. Na mimi si cha kuuliza wewe ruhusa, unipee ruhusa mimi nisimame pamoja na Prime Minister Raila Odinga. Si cha kuuliza ruhusa, unipee ruhusa nisimame na mheshimiwa rais. Mheshimiwa rais is my boss. Ndiye amenipea kazi nifanye, akiamuru vile tunaenda. It is logical mimi nikiwa waziri wake wa usalama. Mimi napiga laini mahali rais amepiga laini ama namna gani? Hapana. Tufanye kazi.
Do you think Mr. Matiang'i publicly declaring his support for Raila Odinga will be happy to facilitate handing over to his opponent? It is impossible. Matiang'i will ensure, he will do everything in his capacity to ensure that Raila wins these elections. He's in charge of the security. If you look at the security that Raila has, you look at the security that Martha has, I can assure you that Matiang'i is working day and night to ensure that Ruto loses, and he will not take part in case Ruto wins. He cannot take part in handing over power to William Ruto. Let us go to the interior, in the interior PS, the same ministry. Mr. Karanja Kibichu hails from Kirinyaga. This permanent secretary hates William Ruto with passion. He has come out clearly to call William Ruto a thief. He has warned people against voting William Ruto
kwa njia ya amani. Alafu niseme sisi tukiwa wafanyikazi wa serikali tumeendelea kuona tukiingiliwa juu ya ile kazi tunaendelea kufanya ya kuelimisha watu wetu, ile maswali wanafaa waulize saa zile wanataka kuchagua. Niseme hivi, sisi hata kama tunafanya kazi kwa serikali, sisi ni wa Kenya na tuko na haki ya kuenda kuelezea hasa mahali mtu amezaliwa. Wale watu wamekusupport mpaka ukafika mahali umefika, uko na ile responsibility ya kwenda kuwaelezea hawa watu wanataka kura zenu, wakikuja mnafaa mchunguze nini. Na ndio tutaendelea kusema kama wewe ni mwizi, tunauliza watu wetu wasikuchague. Kama wewe ni mtu huwezi aminika, juu hata ile maneno unasema leo unasema maneno ya uongo, kesho unasema maneno unageuka tena, hakuna consistency. Tunaambia watu wetu usichague mtu kama huo. Sasa tumechagua ile characteristics hawa watu wetu wanafaa waangalie, na tumeona mtindo tukianza kuguza mahali mtu anajua hapo ni raw nerve kwake, wanaanza kuruka wakianza kutuambia tusiongee, tunaongea siasa. Kama wewe ni mwizi, tutaenda kuambia wananchi usichague mwizi. Kama wewe ni mtu wa kuropokwa, tutaambia wananchi usichague mtu wa kuropokwa. Kama wewe ni mtu huwezi aminika hata na watoto wa mtu, tutaenda kuwashika. Tutaambia wananchi wasikuchague, na tutaendelea kuambia wananchi hivyo. Hatujaambia mwananchi yule mtu atachagua, tunamwambia angalia kama mtu ako na hizi characteristics, kama ako nazo usimchague. Lakini tumeanza kuona wale wako na hizo wanaanza kufikiria tunaongea juu yao. Ni kama vile saa hii nikisema hapa saa hii wewe ni mwizi, alafu uanze kuruka, na sijataja mtu jina. Ukiruka tunajua wewe ni mwizi. Otherwise hapa kuko na watu kama 1000 na hawaruki. Unaruka peke yako kwa nini? Inamaanisha iko mahali umeguzwa, unasikia hapo umeguzwa raw nerve. Na tutaendelea kuwataja. Kama wewe ni mwizi, ruka tukuone. Kama wewe ni mtu wa kupora vitu za watu, kuchapa watu, kuangaisha watu, tutasema tu ndio uruke tukujue.
And recently, he confirmed that the reports that they have from the NIS database is that Raila Odinga is winning with 60%, and they don't shy away from sharing it.
When a few of your colleagues have expressly said that a certain candidate will win in the first round, how difficult do you think it will be for any of the other, we don't know how many will be cleared, to feel comfortable to invite a man or men or women who've expressly stated that this is where our interests are?
You know, here, we don't speak from emotions ourselves. We speak from facts. If you asked me, for example, what the data is saying today, and because you're entitled to my answer as a public servant, I will give you as it is. And the burden of proof then shifts to you. If the data I've given you think is misleading, then tell me what data you have and from where that says otherwise. And I think you cannot criminalize someone for giving you information you have asked for. If, for example, you ask me today, what is the polling with respect to the institution I work for? Yeah, I will tell you. And if it favors, because you have asked me, I didn't volunteer it. If it favors a person, it doesn't mean that that's the person I necessarily support, but it's what the data is saying. And when it's saying like that, then it's up to Kenyans. I've explained to them as a policy initiator what they should look for, what the question they should ask, and why they must be careful, because we must relate our political decisions to our future as a country.
Well, what is the data saying?
You are told here by CS Mushero. That's what it's saying.
This is what intelligence data?
This is intelligence data. That's what it's
saying. It's a 60% win in the first round.
That's what it is saying. First round.
With 2 months to go to the election, voters change their mind.
There is a difference between noise making and facts. You know, there are people who will make noise, do all sort of photoshopping. You know,
this man hates Ruto's gubernatorial candidate in Kirinyaga, Madam Anne Waiguru, and he campaigns against it. He believes Waiguru and Ruto are corrupt people who cannot be trusted with offices. Mr. Karanja Kibichu cannot allow William Samoei Ruto to ascend to power, and their appointment show that the president will not hand over this sword to the deputy president, Uhuru Kenyatta. Inspector General Hilary Mutyambai replaced the immediate former Inspector General who was coming from the Kalenjin nation. This man has been accused of working together with the president, and Ruto has accused him of being a puppet, being controlled by the president. Instead, Ruto says that instead of this office acting independently, that it has become a puppet of the president.
The current command of the police is done by others. The IG is supposed to be an independent office. But if he cannot discharge that responsibility, it means he's being discharged by people who don't run independent offices. And to be honest, the current IG is the president of Kenya, who is the leader of Azimio. So, if you put yourselves in our shoes, if the IG is also a competitor in the election, you know, where do you start? That's where the problem is.
In fact, William Ruto has demeaned Mr. Mutambai, and he has been recorded as saying that Mutambai is the most incompetent police officer in the world.
We have the most incompetent Inspector General of Police, I think, in the world. The most incompetent in the whole world. His incompetence may not necessarily play out when things are working, but when things get to a head and you need some decisions to be made, I can tell you for sure, the gentleman we have as an IG cannot make any decision.
Their blood, they have bad blood between them, and Mutambai cannot oversee handing over power to the deputy president. I can assure you that if you look at, I can assure you that Mutambai, among other, I can assure you that Mr. Mutambai will work together with the other committee members to ensure that Raila wins. They will do everything within their reach to ensure that Raila wins, and they will do everything to ensure that they hand over the power to Raila Odinga. The other person that I want to look at is the PS ICT, Mr. Jerome Ochieng. Mr. Jerome Ochieng has never been in the public limelight, but his counterpart, the minister or the cabinet secretary in that ministry, Mr. Joe Musheru, has come out openly in public and says that he has the right to support Raila Odinga and he enjoys supporting Raila Odinga.
So some of us are there to ensure we have free, fair election, making sure systems and everything are working. And obviously we're working closely with Baba to ensure that that is the case. And we've been looking and seeing the information. We are on the right track. We are on the right path. We are following our leader. He's very clear on where we are going and what our future looks like. So I have no hesitation in supporting His Excellency Raila Odinga and the candidature.
And he is one person who also corroborated the fact that Raila Odinga is going to win with 60%. This is the man in charge of the ICT. They provide network. They support the network to the IBC and how data transmission during election, before, during, and after the election is done. And he has come out very clearly supporting the opponent of William Samoei Ruto. I can assure you that Mr. Jerome, who is the ICTPS, will not be happy if William Ruto wins. Mr. Jerome comes from Siaya, and he will be happy to see his brother being sworn in as the president. If you look at, for example, the Attorney General, Mr. Paul Kihara, the Attorney General is the legal advisor, chief legal advisor to the president. When Ruto went to court to contest the BBI, Mr. Kihara came breathing fire, and he has labeled Ruto as someone who is only hell-bent on rocking the government from within. This man, after the courts nullified the BBI, went and appealed against that ruling. And I can assure you, he will ensure that Ruto does not ascend to power. Let's go to the head of the Chief of Defense, Mr. Robert Kibochi. In the past, Ruto has come out with guns blazing, insulting his boss. The last nail on the coffin where Ruto shot himself on the foot is when he said that he almost slapped the president. I can assure you that audio put William Ruto against the military. The president is the head of state. The president is in charge of the military, the police. And for William Ruto to come out in public and say that he wanted to slap the president, this did not go down well with the police. It did not go down well with the Kenya Navy, the Kenya Army, and the Air Force. And those people are not, that statement alone made him an enemy of the military. And Mr. Mr. Robert Kibochi, being the head, being the chief of defense, is doing everything to ensure that William Ruto does not ascend to power. Ladies and gentlemen, with this committee in place and the roles that have given you, this is bad news to supporters of William Ruto, but you can take it to the bank that the state, the system, the deep state, and everything, every department that is involved will make sure that Ruto does not win. These are friends of Uhuru Kenyatta. These are enemies of William Ruto who have come out to criticize him and have shown their support publicly to Raila Odinga. Do you think they can hand over power to William Samoei Ruto? Your guess is as good as mine. Ladies and gentlemen, those are my thoughts.